Hi, Year 6. Hopefully you've had a nice half-term break. It's Mrs. Withers here with chapter 16 of Orphans of the Tide. You might remember before half-term, we've just discovered who the vessel is. So we now know that Ellie is the vessel. Okay, chapter 16 is called The Vessel. The words lingered in the air. Long seconds went by, or maybe minutes, and there was just a huge, terrifying silence. Ellie felt somehow the world had changed, now that she'd spoken the truth at last. She let go of Seth's hand, pulling herself up and stumbling to the sink for a cup of water. "You're the vessel," he said. It wasn't a question. Ellie's fingers trembled so much she had to use both hands to raise the cup to her lips. She'd never told anybody, not once. She'd never spoken the words, not even to the mirror. "I shouldn't have said anything," she said. She sipped, put down the cup, and found the water hadn't helped her thirst. She felt a stab of worry and couldn't bear to look at Seth, afraid of what she might see in his expression. "I shouldn't have told you." "Why not?" "Because I'm the vessel," she said. "I'm evil." "You're not evil." "I am." She looked at him out of the corner of her eye. He took a step towards her and she shied away, holding up her arms to hide her face. It was strange, being looked at for the first time by someone who knew what she really was. Her skin prickled under his gaze. Seth looked thoughtfully at the ground. "You asked the enemy to save me from the fire of St. Earthram's Square. Then the enemy tried to kill Anna with that fire at the oystery. And when we jumped from the tower, you asked it to save us again, so it made the hole in the ground." "Which means he has another wish of his own to make now," said Ellie. "He'll probably fling someone from the top of a building, something like that." "When did it happen?" Seth said quietly. "When did you first see it?" Ellie swallowed. 3 years ago. I came back here one day, and there he was. It was quite nice at first." "Nice?" Seth choked. "I was lonely. I just lost my brother. I liked having someone to talk to. He helped me with my machines." "And you've managed to keep it a secret for 3 years?" Ellie nodded, but Seth looked her up and down. "You don't seem like the vessel." Ellie gave a tiny, humorous laugh. "Pale, tired, easily scratched and bruised." She pulled up the sleeves of her coat to show him the many crisscrossing, scabbed-over scratches, the patches of purple bruises. She winced as the fabric brushed against them. "Still, at least my hair isn't falling out yet. So, are you going to turn me in to the Inquisitors?" Seth frowned. "No, why should I?" "Because I'm the vessel, Seth. Don't you get it? It's not like I stole a fish or threw a stone at a cat. I have the enemy living inside me. If the Inquisitors knew what I was, I'd be dead. The whole city would want me dead." She turned from him, shaking her head. "You don't understand." Seth laughed bitterly. "Oh, I understand," he said. "The whole city does want me dead." Ellie looked at him. A tiny seed seemed to crack open in the pit of her stomach. In a way, he probably did understand. "And I would be dead," he continued, "if you hadn't saved me again and again." "I saved you for now, but Finn's still got a wish to make, and he's not going to waste it, trust me." Ellie gritted her teeth. "I hadn't asked him for anything for over a year. A year, not one wish." "What did you ask him for before?" Ellie looked round the workshop. "Stupid stuff at first. Mostly I asked him to help me fix my mum's machines. When something broke, he'd mend it for me. The owner would be delighted, and then a few weeks later, Finn would use his wish to break it again. It didn't help my reputation. People said my workmanship was shoddy, but I couldn't fix the things myself. I'm not smart enough. Ellie, you made that boat that goes underwater. By sinking, she said. Most boats can do that if you put a hole in them, I'm afraid. I'm a fraud. But you've lasted 3 years as the vessel. Hester Mayer barely lasted 3 months, said Seth, pointing at the diary. And it's not like you're dangerous. I might not be dangerous now, but I will be. Every time I ask for Finn's help, I get weaker, and he gets stronger. Soon... She put a hand to her chest. She felt lightheaded, her body a brittle shell. She stumbled towards the bedroom. I need to lie down, she said. You can come in. It doesn't matter now. She swung the door open and drifted inside her bedroom. Seth followed. Ellie's bedroom was a sad, empty place. The bed was plain. The bare boards were covered with pencils and pencil shavings and little hills of candle wax. A solitary window close to the ceiling had been boarded over haphazardly. Wooden planks hammered into the wall. The only colour in the room came from the single red sock that lay forgotten in one corner. Who is... said Seth, looking around. What are these? There are at least 300 black and white drawings stuck to the walls, sketched in pencil or ink or charcoal. 300 faces, 300 boys, each one a little different from the next. A crooked nose here, cheeks flapped there. Straight hair or messy hair, or dimpled chin or a chickenpox scar. They're my brother, said Ellie, flopping down on her bed. All of them? Said Seth, confused. Then he nodded to himself. You're trying to remember what he looked like. Ellie wrung her hands. I can't really picture him anymore, she mumbled. The drawings terrified her, but she felt somehow they were necessary. Look, Seth, she said. I'm the vessel. I really am. I believe you. Well, Ellie crossed her arms. You clearly don't. I shouldn't have expected you to understand. You've only been in the city for a few days after all. You don't know how serious this is. Seth tensed. They put me in a cage, Ellie, he said. They tried to burn me alive. I know what this means. Then why aren't you afraid of me? Said Ellie, digging her fingers into her hair. You should be. I'm dangerous, Seth. I'm a monster. Seth leaned back against the wall. Ellie was infuriated by how calm he was. You're the only person in the city who isn't trying to kill me, he said softly. What about Anna? Oh, Anna is definitely trying to kill me, said Seth. On the way back from the cathedral, she spent the whole time whispering to me about her collection of poisonous plants and how she hoped none of them ended up in my breakfast. Ellie laughed, and it was like a brilliant blue flower sprouting suddenly in the sand. She felt exhausted, yet there was a great relief filling her body. Seth did understand. He understood, and he was still here. Is that why you saved me? Said Seth. Because you knew I was innocent? Partly, said Ellie. I'm sorry. I should have been trying harder to figure out who you are. I've just been so worried about what Finn was going to do to you. Seth paced over, cat-like, moving a wrench from the bed so that he could sit down next to her. There must be something we can do, he said. There is. I can turn myself in before the enemy's ready to take physical form. But if you die, the enemy will just claim a new vessel, right? Eventually, yes. But what else can I do? If the Inquisition doesn't know I'm the vessel, they'll keep hunting you. You're clever, Ellie, said Seth. You can figure out a way to beat the enemy. Ellie scoffed. Hester Mayer couldn't stop the enemy, and neither could any of the others before him, and most of them were adults. Every single vessel before me has died horribly, either because of the enemy or the Inquisition. But you have Hester Mayer's diary to help you, so you won't make the same mistakes he did. I can help you too. So can Anna. Ellie shook her head fervently. No, not Anna. I don't want her getting hurt. The enemy tried to kill her today, said Seth, getting off the bed and crouching down in front of Ellie. She deserves to know the truth. Why? Because she loves you. Ellie turned her head aside. She opened her mouth to protest, but instead found herself thinking of the time that Anna had looked after her in the orphanage, when she'd had a fever. She remembered Anna chasing orphans from the bedroom to give Ellie peace and quiet, and how she'd cleaned vomit from Ellie's hair. I'll talk to her, she said, to make things right, but I'm not telling her. I have to keep her safe. She wants to help you, Ellie. Ellie clenched her fists. But you saw what she was like when she thought you were the vessel. What if she can't even look at me? She tucked in her legs, hugging them tight. Tiny drops of bright blue were spattered across her bare arms, from when she and Seth had knocked over a tin of paint while playing with the net cannon. An awful thought occurred to her. You're not going to leave, are you? She said. No, said Seth. You could, though. You know. I understand. I'm not going anywhere, said Seth firmly. Ellie managed a weak, grateful smile. So what do we do now? Said Seth. Ellie thought a while and then shrugged. Like you said, we figure out a way to stop the enemy before... She took a deep breath. Before he can kill me. The Diary of Claude Hestermeyer. I didn't wait to hear what Thomas had to say. I left the hall and the university. I left behind my colleagues and my study and my life. I walked through the city I loved as calmly as I could, absorbing myself in the majestic grey buildings and the towering statues, drinking in the smells of the sea. In the markets of the unknown saint, I passed that charming young Killian Hargraff, who had grown up on the same street as me and had recently joined the Inquisition. He bowed and wished me a good evening, and I did likewise, thinking to myself, if he knew the truth, he would arrest me without hesitation. The same was true of my family. We had never been close, and I was sure they would turn me over if they thought there was money in it for them. I was a wanted criminal now. At least they didn't know I'm the vessel, I said, shivering in a cold alley by the oystery. Yes, the enemy agreed. Well, until they find your diary. A chill gripped my chest. No! How would that slip my mind? It's still in my office, I cried. Oh dear, said the enemy, shaking his head sadly. Well, you're not going to be able to get it now. I paced up and down the alley. If I didn't do something, my secret would be revealed to the whole city. I had to buy myself more time. I'm not going to get it, I said. You are. The enemy smiled. Are you sure you want me to do that? Yes, get it, now. Fine, he said. And just like that, he pulled my diary from behind his back. Here you go. I took it from him eagerly, pressing it to my heart. Though I wouldn't be too relieved, said the enemy. They've already read it. My stomach lurched as if the ground had vanished from under me. No, they can't have done. They raided your office for the money and found the diary on your desk. Pretty foolish place to leave it, if you ask me. No, they can't. They can't know I'm the vessel. But even as I said this, a bell somewhere began to toll. Somewhere high above the peak of the city. The bell of the Inquisition. And that's the end of the chapter then. So it sounds like whoever the vessel is able to ask the enemy for things. And each time they ask the enemy for things, they grow weaker. So we've got Ellie, who's asked the enemy to save Seth on a few occasions, but also Claude Hestermeyer has asked the enemy for things as well. Okay, we're going to leave it there for today.